What is up, everybody? Welcome into Talking BS. I'm your host, as always, Steven Zamora. If you would be so kind as to follow me on Twitter at ZamoraBSB. And today I got a very special episode. If you can't tell already, I'm doing an off-season preview for the Brooklyn Nets. I had to throw the hat on for you guys because Brooklyn really is one of my favorite teams to follow. It kind of sucks that you guys have seen so much misfortune in the past year or so since the big three left. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at some ways to improve this team going into the 2024-2025 NBA season. And this one's going to be a little bit different than my other ones. So if you're a subscriber to Talkin BS and you've been following along and you see my other off-season previews, you know, I kind of have a set order of how I do things, right? This one is going to be a little bit different. Just for the fact that Brooklyn is in a very weird place for an NBA franchise. They don't own any of their own first round picks, but they have a young star that they're trying to build around. So they have two paths that they could really take, whether to build around him and try to make this team as competitive as possible, seeing as they don't have their own first round picks, or go and try to get as many firsts as they can and start the rebuild. But before we get started, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys so much for being here with me. And I hope to bring you guys more content like this, you know, much more regularly. So if you can, please do that for me. And without further ado, let's get into it. So some things we're going to cover in this offseason preview. We're going to look at the weaknesses that the Nets need to improve on. We're going to look at the tools that they have at their disposal to make themselves better throughout the offseason. We're going to get a checklist of things that they must do before they go any further into this process. Then we're going to look at both ways that this team can go in this offseason. Since there's a fork in the road, we're going to look at both options here and try to figure out what's best for you guys. So first off, what we got to do is figure out what this team was actually really bad at last year. They were 26th in the NBA in fast break points allowed per game, 25th in effective field goal percentage, 28th in shooting percentage, 27th in shooting efficiency, 25th in defensive rebounds allowed per game, 26th in steals, and 28th in fouls per game. Next, what we're going to do is look at the tools that you have at your disposal to make this team better. So you unfortunately have 0 picks in this 2024 draft. You do have the Ben Simmons contract for salary matching purposes if they want to pursue a star. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder contracts available for trade. If they re-sign Claxton, they will be over the cap and have access to a full mid-level exception around $13 million. They could have up to 11 first-round and 5 second-round picks until the year 2030. So you do got some tools at your disposal to make this team a little bit better next year. But like I said, let's look at some things that we got to do before we go any further. So first off, to be or not to be. Build a culture under new head coach Jordi Fernandez. Test the market for Ben Simmons. Finding balance. And bright future Nets. So what we got to figure out here, first off, this is where things get a little different than my other videos. We're going to actually look at your cap situation first. According to Bobby Marks of ESPN, you're one of these in-between teams, technically over the salary cap. Although you have $120 million in salary because of the Nick Claxton free agent hold, about $16.6 million. You have 4 trade exceptions that are totaling $48 million, 20.4, 11.9, 9.5, and $6.8 million. I would expect Brooklyn to act as a team over the cap. They will likely have their $12.8 million MLE and the 4.7 biannual exception. You can use both. So, like I said, we got 2 paths that we have in front of us. We can use the draft picks acquired in the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving trades to bring in another star to play alongside Bridges until 2025, where the Nets will open up a ton of cap space because of Ben Simmons' contract will expire. Or trade Bridges, Cam Johnson, DFS, and Schroeder now for draft picks and start the rebuild. So the first thing we're going to look at here, we're going to look at some trade possibilities. There are a couple stars on the market that could fit the Brooklyn Nets pretty well and fit next to Bridges, but they are going to take some of those draft picks that you guys acquired in the Kyrie trade and the Kevin Durant trade. So you are going to have to give up some picks, but if this is the route you want to go, this is the route you have to take. So in this trade, we're trading to Atlanta Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, and 2 future first-round picks. And in return, Brooklyn is getting DeJounte Murray. So this seems the most likely of all the scenarios I'm about to throw at you. Brooklyn needs a point guard. They need somebody who could set the table for guys like Bridges and some of the other players on the team, and a good pick and roll partner for Claxton. DeJounte Murray is a good player, and he's going to be the cheapest of these three options I'm going to throw at you. But he does fit really well with this team. And if Jordy Fernandez is half as good a coach as I think he could be, I think you guys will be all right. The next trade I got on the table for you guys that might be interesting to you. The Cleveland Cavaliers receiving Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, Dennis Schroeder, 2 future first-round picks in exchange for Donovan Mitchell. Now, me personally, if I'm Cleveland, I'd probably want more. Let's be honest. But I don't know if the market is there for him. Donovan Mitchell said he had a dispute with some of the teammates in that Cleveland locker room, stating that some of them were immature, and it sounds like he's on his way out of Cleveland. To me, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm trying to take the chance to sneak in there and get him before the Knicks have that chance. With this package, you might have to give up some more picks, let's be real, but the salaries do match, and I think Donovan Mitchell would be a great fit on that Brooklyn team. Now, this last one I'm going to throw at you is a little more interesting. I don't think I've seen this trade proposed in any articles or anything like that. So, this is talking BS first. Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, and 2 future first-round picks in exchange for Brandon Ingram. So the thoughts behind this one is, Mikal, you move to the 2 and use some of that cap space that you have and those exceptions that you have to fill out the roster, and you bring Brandon Ingram in to play on the wing. I think him and Mikal Bridges make a very good wing duo. You might even have to rely on Ben Simmons to stay healthy this year to play an integral role on this team. But that is the cost of doing business like this and acquiring stars. The salaries do match. You are going to be sending out just as much money as bringing in. So your cap situation and your finances are going to be pretty much the same anyway, which is a big, important piece, because 2025, we got some free agents that could be looking to Brooklyn. And, you want to keep that space open in case somebody wants to come and play with these guys. So I put together a hypothetical rotation. Okay. And basically what I thought was, I'm going to put together the roster that we have currently and, add DeJounte Murray to it, because I believe that's the most likely scenario here out of all these 3 trades. And at the end of the day, you could, swap out DeJounte in this graphic for, Ingram on the 3 and move Bridges over, like I said, or you could put Mitchell at the 2 and, find other guys or whatever. The point is that you can bring in that second star. Starting at point guard in this situation, you would have DeJounte Murray backed up by Monte Morris. You would have Cam Thomas backed up by DeAnthony Melton. You would have Mikal Bridges backed up by Dariq Whitehead. You would have Cam Johnson backed up by Noah Clowney. Nick Claxton backed up by Day'Ron Sharpe. So in this situation, right, we're using that full taxpayer mid-level exception to go get a guy like DeAnthony Melton, who could be a really good guard for you guys. And, he can handle a little bit. He can hit his open shots, and he plays really, really good defense. And then you bring in a guy like Monte Morris on the biannual exception around $5 million, who could play your backup point guard, set the table. He's a bit of a change of pace from DeJounte, and, he can really bring your bench together, especially those young guys that you're going to be playing on your bench. Now, at the end of the day, I don't know how far this hypothetical team gets you. We just seen DeJounte play in Atlanta and finish the season as a 10 seed, as the number 2. And this team is, kind of in the same mold as that Atlanta team, right? It's a very deep team with a lot of young talent and another star on the side of him. So, how far this team gets you, I'm not sure. But the whole point is to try to keep that cap space open for 2025, right? So if you look at the graphic here, I have the 2024 salaries for all these guys. And you'll see in 2025, you have 6 salaries on the books. Now, 4 of them are over $20 million. But, this year it's $141 million. It could be up to $155 million. Best case scenario, right? You have those 6 contracts on the books. You have $100,671,419 on your books as of 2025 offseason. So going into free agency, you would still have $54,428,581 to spend, which is a huge chunk of change, right? That's more than enough for a max salary and some extra spending money to go and get you guys some, depth, and you would have a core of, let's just say Mitchell does end up hitting free agency. He sticks with Cleveland for another year and he ends up hitting free agency and he's like, you know what? I do want to go to Brooklyn. Then you would have a starting lineup of DeJounte Murray, Donovan Mitchell, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Nick Claxton. And you would still have Dariq Whitehead and Noah Clown on the team. Right there, that's a 7-man rotation, and you still have about $15 to $25 million in cap space to spend. And, that's just to stay under the cap. Then you might even have the biannual exception to spend after that. So you'll be all right if you go this route. The thing is you're risking a lot of your future. You're spending another year kind of in purgatory here and spending more draft picks to get to this position for the hope that you get a guy like Donovan Mitchell to come to your team in another year, which is a bit of a scary proposition and something that I think a lot of GMs just aren't ready to go for. But if that's not the route you want to go and you want to tear this team down, well, your boys got you. All right. We're going to look at that as well. So what I'm pulling up here is some big boards. The one provided on the left is by CBS. The one on the right is Tankathon. And the big one in the middle is going to be the Ringer. And if you look at the comps in the Ringer draft guide, you're going to see a lot of names that are role players. So not a lot of superstar talent in this draft. I've said this on my videos before. Picks 10 to like 30, 35 are all kind of like a who's who of what kind of player you want. We've got guys who are compared to like Chris Middleton, Michael Finley, Kyle Anderson, Miles Turner. On the third graphic, we got guys like Lou Williams, Kelly Oubre Jr., Jared Dudley, Jalen Smith, Charlie Villanueva. Even in the later round picks, there are guys you can get that are very talented and can be key contributors to this team. 2025 is a star-heavy draft. So if you got rid of, let's say you traded Bridges away and you get a 2025 first and you already have like the Phoenix picks who could end up being really bad and, or you could even exchange those Phoenix picks. I've seen reports of this, exchange those Phoenix picks to Houston and get your own picks back. So that's another possibility. One of the options I'm going to throw at you is another trade. So in this scenario, we would send Cam Johnson to Orlando for Joe Ingles and a 2024 first-round pick, 18th overall. Cam Johnson would be a great fit in Orlando. He's a spacer, he's a shooter, and he's a big guy. He could fit very well alongside Paolo and Franz. That's a team that's just building for size and length and versatility, and they need spacing. Then on this next one, we're going to send Washington Dorian Finney-Smith in exchange for Richaun Holmes and the 26th overall pick in the 2024 draft. This one, Washington could use another wing that can space the floor and hit some shots and a good veteran. And they already have the number 2 overall pick, I believe. So they really don't need the 26th overall. And on top of it, they get to get out from under the Richaun Holmes contract. And then this last one I got for you, it's probably going to break your guys' heart. And I know, I hate it. Mikal Bridges to New York in exchange for Bojan Bogdanovic, the 24th overall, the 25th overall in this year's draft, a first in 2025 via New York, and a 2026 first-round swap. So this one is going to be rough to swallow. But if you're rebuilding, you don't really need this guy no more. Now, I don't know if trading him to New York is specifically the best option, but with this package, right, you get Bojan back, who's a good, smart veteran. You can keep him for a year, or you can release him, eat the money, and then next year, like I said, go into free agency. You have a ton of cap space to spend, and you have a ton of picks at this point. And speaking of that, here's some rumor free agents just to get you guys prepared for free agency. So the first 8 guys on the list are going to be more like your veteran guys, some guys you want to bring in who provide a lot of them provide spacing or like rebounding or like a specific niche that Brooklyn could use, right? And they're veterans who are going to come in and, provide some leadership and build a culture there. This is more so if you're rebuilding and you've got the cap space to do it. I think these guys would fit well with you. We got Klay Thompson, Russell Westbrook, Kyle Anderson, Caleb Martin, Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson, Patrick Beverley, and Kyle Lowry. Then in the bottom half, I got 7 names there that are on the younger side that you might be able to take some, have like upside potentiality with these guys. That's going to be Miles Bridges, Gary Trent Jr., Isaiah Joe, Precious Achua, Chris Dunn, Taylor Horton-Tucker, and Markel Fultz. You guys in there who are playmakers, some guys in there who just, are really good defenders, and some guys who are some good shooters. I think all that stuff is stuff that Brooklyn would need, especially if you guys are rebuilding. At the end of the day, if I was the GM, man, to be honest, and you have to understand this is from a fan's perspective, right? And this is coming from a fan who's a fan of another team, right? But, 2K culture. If it was me, I'm rebuilding this thing. I'm going and I'm trying to get my picks back from Houston. I would honestly exchange those Phoenix picks for my picks back if that was possible. Even if I had to throw a sweetener in there, then obviously it depends on what the sweetener is. Then I'm going to trade Bridges. I'm going to trade whoever else, and I'm going to get as many picks back as I can. You do have valuable picks already as it is. There's no reason to try to put all your hopes in a free agent class in 2025. I just, as somebody who watches you guys support this team and love this team so much, I just want you guys to get out of this toxic relationship and start something new, start something fresh, because you guys deserve it. So with that said, if you like this video, please, please, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing one of these previews for the foreseeable future. I'm trying to get all 30 teams done before the NBA draft in June. So I would appreciate and love your support. Thank you so much for sticking around. I love you guys. Have a good day. Talkin BS, we out.